Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 34. He's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, we're finally close to the football again. It feels like forever since the last time the Steelers played a game.
Yeah, it really does. No new tape to kind of scour going back through, obviously, some of the stuff that they've already put out there. I think you've done some really good stuff. I think you opened up a lot of eyes on your Bud Dupree piece that you did, your video breakdown, so kudos to you on that. They're showing some of the improvements that Bud Dupree has made over the years, and obviously into some of this Dolphins tape right now. And you want to talk, we've talked about must-win games a couple of times already this year, but this one really is a must-win game. Really feels like these next two at least are must-win games when it comes to the Steelers, especially on the heels of the Baltimore Ravens beating the Seattle Seahawks last week. Some other, Baltimore obviously off on a bye this week, but hopefully we'll get back and get a chance to be Patriots fans this weekend and root for them to crush the Browns there. But really kind of with Monday night, we still get Sunday free here to watch a few games on top of it. Then we'll sit back and keep our fingers crossed and hope the Steelers can take care of business against the Dolphins at home.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I think, a tougher game than maybe some Steeler fans anticipate. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I want to start, though, with the most pressing news and the news that did occur after Wednesday's show, Dave, and that was getting at least a short-term answer on Anthony Chickillo's future, the NFL placing Chickillo on the commissioner's exempt list, meaning he will not count against the 53-man roster. He will be able to attend practices and be at the facility. He will get paid, but obviously is not eligible to play. So Chickillo is now on the commissioner's exempt list. The Steelers signed back Jayrone Elliott in his place, which is really not a shock in the sense of, Elliott had been on the roster before, had played well enough, did some work on special teams, and someone that they know.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't find that part to be a surprise at all because of the fact that, too, when Tuzar Skipper was waived, because of the time and because you haven't had to practice in there anyway, it made sense to get a familiar body back in there if indeed the course that you were going to take or the league was going to take was with placing Anthony Chickillo on the commissioner's exempt list. So that half of it, or that part of what happened, on when was it? Wednesday, wasn't a surprise to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me neither. So Chickillo's still a member of the team right now, but obviously they're going to work through the legal process and go through that, and his future's uncertain. He'll be on the commissioner's exempt list for as long as the league deems him to be. Again, I think a lot of this will have to just kind of run its course and go through this legal process, and then the NFL and Steelers can make a decision from there. But speaking of Tuzar Skipper, since you mentioned him, yeah, Steelers did not put in a waiver claim. No team put in a waiver claim for Tuzar Skipper, and he ended up re-signing with the Giants practice squad. I'll be honest, it surprised me that the team did not put in a waiver claim. I'm not going to pretend like I am 100% floored by it. I said on Wednesday's show that I'm not going to guarantee this team was going to put in a claim. Things change over the course of 6 weeks in the NFL. But a move that disappointed a lot of Steelers Nation.
Yeah, I was surprised that they did not put in a claim. I wasn't surprised that he cleared those first few teams, for the various reasons that I pointed out the other day. But I figured that if he did make it to the Steelers, even, in my head, I thought what they would do is I thought Chickillo would go to the commissioner's exempt list. I thought they'd go ahead and sign back Jayrone Elliott, and then I thought they would additionally try to put in a claim for Tuzar Skipper, because Mike Tomlin had just told us too that he's not happy with the depth of the outside linebacker position, and then also you and I talking about what's going on with the future of the position past this year's not great either there. So all the stars were aligning for Skipper to land back with the Steelers there, and supposedly they didn't even reach out to him to be, obviously any team has the right to try to attract him to get him back to sign to their practice squad after he cleared waivers there. I think the Giants were the only team that really reached out to Skipper as well. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's what ended up happening. And I'm a bit surprised. And people are probably now at this point saying, or at least half of them or a quarter of them are saying, why the hell are y'all spending too much time on Tuzar Skipper? Well, I mean, he did have an impressive preseason from a pass rushing standpoint. The team did keep him on at least the initial 53-man roster, for whatever reason, even though they were probably already knew that they were going to try to make him the 53rd player, if you will, as part of the Johnny Holton, kind of weekend turnaround there, and then get Skipper, to the practice squad. Well, it's not Skipper's fault that he got claimed, so it's not like he left you on his own, through his own decisions to go elsewhere. But I don't know. Maybe the ship has sailed on that. Look, I mean, we see year in, year out the Howard Jones, the oh Lord, help me out with some old names of the past here, some undrafted rookie free agents that everybody gets excited about, and all of them fizzled.
No, well, Josh Morrow's still stuck in the league, but he wasn't the player Steeler fans thought he was.
Right. And like I said, I mean, we saw some good things from Skipper during the preseason, but as I wrote on that kind of recap article the other day about Skipper and his time with his Giants, there was nothing on tape that makes you go, oh wow, Right. Now obviously only 40 something snaps in there, and that's why I was careful to word that post and say we don't know if they lost anything or not at this point because of how few of the snaps that he's played. And but with that, I still felt that they knew enough about him and all, and probably maybe liked him enough that should he something happened to him, that you would think that maybe he would land back with the Steelers, but he didn't. There's nothing that keeps the Steelers from not snatching him off of the Giants practice squad right now. Now the only thing with that is you have to pay a player for 3 weeks at normal. In other words, he has to basically take up a spot on your 53-man roster for three weeks after you do rob him off of another team's practice squad. But as of right now, it looks like this guy is going to stay on the practice squad of the Giants, for the time being, and not going to be back with the Steelers anytime soon.
I definitely don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it, but I'll just say this for the reason why I think they didn't claim him is what you referenced a moment ago, Dave, was that this team, although they kept Skipper on the 53-man roster initially, their intention was to put him on the practice squad because that was the whole point of the right before week one turnaround with Holton coming up and Skipper ideally getting a release and then re-signing on the practice squad with Pittsburgh. So they never really ultimately viewed him as a 53-man roster candidate. Now I understand the depth had changed and you thought maybe the equation, would have opened up a spot for Skipper to get back on the 53-man roster. But maybe they just viewed him as a practice squad guy, and that's why they didn't want to put in a claim, and Skipper just went back to the Giants because that was a team that he was a part of. So that's my best rationale of it, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time thinking about it.
Yeah, look, I mean, you only can see so much during the preseason, and you don't know. A lot of it's vanilla stuff anyway. So hey, there was still going to be some development that had to happen with him. And I think I was careful to point this out the other day. Even had the Steelers claimed him off waivers the other day, there was a good chance he wasn't going to dress for Monday night, right?
Right.
And I mean, we see how slow Ola Adebayo's been brought along. Heck, he still was only played. How many snaps has he played this year?
39, I believe.
Right. And he only played like 9 last year. Now, Ola, for the first time in his career, is probably going to play a considerable amount, probably a career high, single game career high in snaps Monday night for reasons that we'll cover here shortly. But you see these guys and they do impress during the preseason, but we got to continue to remember it's preseason. I mean, how many past guys in the NFL have led the preseason in sacks or tackles or passing yards or rushing yards and never seen the light of day?
Lots of them. Yeah.
So this is just one more reason. Look, I mean, you do see, and unless a guy is just a killer special teams player like we saw Terrence Garvin several years ago, a guy that makes himself uncuttable that you have to have out there, on special teams. It's hard to get rid of because he helps you so much in that third and final phase of the game. It's hard for those guys to stick anywhere all year, and that's one of the main reasons too. I thought that back in September, hey, let's hold our horses on being mad on Skipper being gone and being with the Giants because he might not last there, all season. And lo and behold, he didn't.
Right. There's certainly a churn at the bottom of any roster where players get cut and brought back all the time. So Ross Ventrone several years ago, on and off the roster, did that in New England, did that in Pittsburgh. So that's just kind of how some guys try to survive in the NFL. But anyway, so yeah, that's a situation. Chickillo, commissioner's exempt. Elliott brought back for special teams, backup outside linebacker depth, and Skipper will remain a New York Giant. I want to move now, Dave, to players who are on the Steelers roster and talk about the injury report that came out on Thursday. And I think it's really all positive news across the board. Honestly, every player progressing nicely, practicing in full, where guys like Mason Rudolph and Roosevelt Nix, Mark Barron, Jaylen Samuels full was surprising in a certainly a positive way. James Washington, you can rattle off the whole list if you'd like to, but I think this team's in a really good place health-wise, getting ready for Miami Monday night. Yeah,
it really, and I'm with you. I thought, man, what great news for Jaylen Samuels already. Now, we had heard, or he had said that the day prior to that he was out there, back out there cutting, doing some cutting and doing some individual work, and I still think it's a little early probably for to get him back, but I mean, for him to be already listed as a full participant is definitely a good sign. We'll see what Friday has in store for him as well, but we'll go through the list here of the full participants. Mason Rudolph full, that was to be expected. Roosevelt Nix, boy, sure will be good to see number 45 back there. You got to know he's ready to crack some skulls as well. I mean, not only as a fullback, but on special teams. I mean, you go back all the way back to that New England game. He didn't play an offensive snap in that game, so we'll definitely get to see him. You would hope quite a bit on offense and potentially, hopefully, even later in the game with the Steelers with the lead, with him being back. But it looks like he's most definitely going to come back this week after missing since week 1. Mark Barron with a hamstring practicing full. That sounds like he'll be available to the team and will dress Monday night. Jaylen Samuels, we talked about with the knee, practicing full. James Washington appears to be over or on his way back and should play Monday night. He suffered that shoulder injury against the Baltimore Ravens a few weeks ago. Randy Fichtner even made it sound like he's going to be back this week, so that's good. Mike Hilton playing through that calf injury, practice full. Steve Nelson with the groin that he suffered during the Ravens game in full. Vance McDonald, who's still dealing with some sort of shoulder issue from the game against the 49ers, was it?
Yes.
All right. Practicing full. Joe Hayden, full with a groin. That's a good sign. The only really ones, T.J. Watt limited with the abdomen injury. It sounds like, I got to be careful here, it sounds like he intends to play to some degree, and Keith Butler almost sounded like he thinks Watt will try to play through this to some degree Monday night. Juju Smith-Schuster was the only player that did not practice. He had an illness, so hopefully he's back today. But this might be the healthiest the team has been since, week 1, come the final injury report when it's released on Saturday.
Sure, everyone in the right direction. I expect Watt to play. It might be more of a pain tolerance thing than anything else right now, but I think he's a tough guy. He's going to go out there and go. Juju with the illness will be fine. So the only ones that are questionable is, Jaylen Samuels. Is he going to get enough reps to come in and be able to get on the field right away? I'm not 100% sure of that. But we'll see how he's listed. I'm guessing he'll be listed as maybe still questionable on the final injury report. But overall, the health of this team, all those guys that missed time, Washington, Steve Nelson, Joe Hayden, Vance, Nix. I mean, all those guys are going to come back. Rudolph, obviously. So pretty happy with this report.
Mike Tomlin now, since this new kind of since probable was done away with the injury report, and and that's been going on now a couple of years.
I don't like that. Bring probable back. I like that. That's my mission statement.
But kind of since then, boy, Tomlin's got if someone's listed as questionable with Tomlin, like nine times out of 10 they're playing.
Do you think Samuels plays this week?
No, I don't. Of course, I'm a groin specialist. Damn it, Jim, I'm a groin doctor, not a knee specialist. But that comes from kind of Star Trek, though. You don't. Yeah. That's probably above your head. Yeah. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends the week listed as doubtful, I guess is what I'm getting at. But, I mean, if he is listed as questionable, I think it's still too early because, I mean, you got to have bodies for this inactive list anyway, right? I mean, you got to have the big winner this week, Brock Osweiler, not Brock Osweiler. I get the two confused. Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch, the big winner this week, right? I mean, there's no bigger winner this week than Paxton Lynch, correct?
Assuming he sticks around past Saturday, yeah, he's still on the roster right now. So we'll see. Maybe all the quarterback injuries have made this team gun shy, and they're going to carry 3 now, or they're just kind of giving it another week. I'm not sure, but yeah, Paxton Lynch so far so good.
Yeah, and I joked about that on Twitter the other day. Kevin Colbert got scared silly the last couple of weeks at the quarterback position there. He's probably going to try to carry 3 on the 53 the rest of the way now. But we would expect Paxton Lynch to be inactive, either Bugs or Walton. I mean, I just can't see both of those guys dressing, right?
Yeah, they only dress 5.
Either way there. I mean, you still have running back Trey Edmonds up on the 53 that you would think he would dress for special teams purposes, especially with Chickillo, no longer there or no longer on the active 53. Probably, I don't know, Chukwuma Okorafor might be another one that's down again this week. Gentry, right, possibly being inactive. Lane possibly being inactive. You're probably still going to run one short however you build up your inactive list, and it makes sense that it could, looking at the injury report now, that it could end up being Samuels. I guess that's a long story for. I expect Samuels to be maybe doubtful on the final one.
It'll be either one of Samuels or Edmonds because you have Connor, you have Snell. Those guys are definitely going to be active. So then it comes down to whether or not Samuels is healthy enough. It may be a thing where they want to test him out pregame and see how that knee is. And if it's good, they'll let him go. If not, then they won't. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go. Moncrief, I wonder if he'll be active this week. You kind of think that he's going to be trending towards being inactive because of the numbers game with Washington coming back healthy.
Yeah, that's true. But if Washington's not 100%, my view is you should never let a player play unless he's very, very, close to being, obviously no player is 100% once the season starts anyway. But if there's any question about him, then he shouldn't play,
Well, if he gets the reps and he's good,
right,
then he's good. I mean, that's the way I look at it. He's getting the reps right now. He's full.
Right, and I expect him to play. But, in other words, I don't think you dress other players and live in your fears for, this guy's coming back from injury, kind of thing. So I think there is a good chance that Moncrief could be down, as well. And look, I mean, if you still have plans of maybe, getting Moncrief off your roster by week 10, you don't want him to get hurt, right?
Mm-hmm. In which this team should still have plans of getting Moncrief off the roster by week 10. Anything else is a massive mistake.
Absolutely.
That's the injury report. Again, good news there. We'll get Friday's report. I think it'll be pretty similar, though, as Thursday's. Juju coming back from the illness. Apparently there's a little flu bug going around in the Steelers locker room, but all minor stuff. Dave, let's go to Keith Butler, Andy Fichtner talking to the media yesterday. I feel like they get asked the same questions every single week, so there isn't anything super noteworthy, at least from the way that I read it. But I think that the way that Fichtner's talking, the way that Mason Rudolph's talking, the comments I've heard from the locker room that I really believe, I know we've said this every single week, we kind of sound like a broken record at this point, that this will be the week the offense starts getting more vertical, starts looking for more explosive chunk plays. It really feels like there's a clear effort to do that against Miami.
Yeah, and there should be. I mean, this is a Dolphins defense that has not been good in when not only when it comes to giving up explosive plays, but deep passing plays as well. And always need to clarify that a deep passing play in the NFL is considered one in which the football flies more than 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. So they haven't been great, especially to their left side and in the middle of the field there. No, I don't expect Mason Rudolph to go chunking the football down between the hash marks 13 times a game. But I think there's going to be opportunity. Now, the Dolphins are probably going to get Xavier Howard back this week. And that's a big piece for them, getting him back out on the outside there, but they still have safety. I mean, look, their secondary for the most part's a mess. So they definitely need a guy like Howard back, but I think there is going to be opportunities at times, and we're not talking about throwing the football 15 times deep down the field. But I mean, if you get a cover one look or a man look or something where you think something's going to get rotated down that gives you an opportunity to get one of your guys matched up one-on-one on the outside, I think you got to take those chances. And you just got to make a more concerted effort. Another thing, when it comes to pushing the football down the field, everybody thinks, well, just throwing deep. No, I think we've said time and time again, pushing the football down the field, especially when it comes to these Steeler quarterbacks right now, these young ones, is 7 to 12 yards down the field. And hopefully a tackle or two are broken, and then you got an explosive play there. It is... Man, at some point, I wish there was a tool now to easily pull this stuff up. But I'd like to go through maybe the whole year at the end of the year to find out how many offensive drives around the league that were 60 yards or more that resulted in touchdowns included at least one explosive play of 20 yards or more.
I'd like to think there's a pretty high number.
Would you think, and I'm guessing here because I don't know, I'm guessing is 80% too high?
Yeah, that feels a little high. I was thinking more
for 60-yard drives or longer.
Well, I mean, you could start by just saying how many 60-plus yard touchdowns there were in the NFL, and that's one starting spot. Just to get you that number out of the way, because obviously all those qualify.
Right. Well, I mean, really, any touchdowns over 20 yards. Well, I see what you're saying, because you could probably take over the football at a different area of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you get the ball, the opponent's 40 and go 20 yards.
Well, I mean, let's face it. There's not a lot of 60-yard touchdowns in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I'm just giving you a starting point.
Okay.
Just a very I don't know what the number would be. 80% sounds a little high. I think it might be more in the 50 to 60% range. But it'd be I'd love to know the number, because obviously I don't know what the number would be.
You're thinking it's more around 50%?
Somewhere around there, yeah. I mean, maybe because New England, every single drive of their existence is just 5 yards at a time. That might skew the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, I know the feeling watching that tape. Man, you have to think it's higher than that. I would think. I don't know. If any of yins out there listen to this want to tackle such a project of going, maybe trying to go through all the game books or whatnot. I mean, I don't know how to I don't think there's a way to do that on Pro Football Reference or any of these play-by-play sites, right? I think you would have to really take a formula and put it into Excel or something and do it that way. I know there's probably a way to do it real quick and easy, but I don't know. I don't know
how. I mean, Pro Football Reference has a drive finder, which you can go in and get some idea. You have to do a lot of manual work.
Right.
Maybe just do it for Pittsburgh over the last 5 years or so, and that might take you only an hour or so to go through their drives, and just to kind of give you at least some number for at least how Pittsburgh looks.
Right. But I guess what I'm getting at here is explosive plays are important,
Mm-hmm.
And I think Randy said as much during his talk yesterday there. He said, chunks are nice. It's not like they're not trying to get chunks. I think this comes down to needing Mason to pull the trigger on a few of these throws.
Right, and that's what Fichtner said too. And I'm just trying to think where exactly he said it, and it just this wasn't a criticism. It just kind of explains Rudolph's personality. Whenever a
He's talking
reporter
about he
asks,
trying to be too perfect, right?
yeah, that's where I was going to. Yeah, reporter asks, "Do you feel Mason is hesitant to release the ball?" Fichtner says, "Quote: No, I don't think so. I think Mason, like most other young guys, they want to do everything perfect, and none of us are perfect. That just doesn't happen. He's an extremely hard worker." Then he says later on he wants to be perfect, and in that stride to do that daily, it doesn't happen. And I think he's starting to learn that it's not always going to be perfect. And that's kind of what I've said in the past. I've called him selective. You go in training camp, Duck Hodges slinging the ball around every single day. Rudolph, if it wasn't there, he simply wouldn't take it. There's pros and cons to it, obviously, but I think Rudolph has to learn that even if it isn't clearly wide open, you can still make that throw. NFL windows aren't going to present themselves the way the college windows do. So I think him being a little more, taking that gamble, that smart risk, where as opposed to him just checking it down too much, I think that's a factor of it too. So I understand what Fichtner's saying. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think I've kind of seen that in Rudolph's play. It's not a major criticism; it's a good thing. He wants to make good decisions and make a profit, and not do anything that's going to harm this team. But there is going to be a balance you have to walk of taking that chance, taking that big play to create a chunk of explosive play.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen things on tape as well too, where he has not taken some shots that he probably should have taken. Pulled the trigger. And look, this is a guy that slung it. The thing is this isn't it isn't like it's not his MO, right? I mean, because he would sling the damn football at Oklahoma State quite a bit. Now, is he seeing as tight of coverages as he did at Oklahoma State? No. No, or is he seeing as loose, as wide open as guys? Do we have another bin on our hand? College Open, it's a joke. Because we always kind of criticize, sometimes at time would say, Ben likes his wide receivers College Open, but and that's always been kind of a. I don't think we've obviously have never really believed it, but there have been times where you think, man, what does Ben want? That got to be College Open kind of thing. But obviously Ben has hit tight windows more than too many times for us to count in the past. And I think that's the thing with Mason here, is you just got to grip it and rip it. Are you going to throw some interceptions along the way? Absolutely you are. But you probably there's been a couple times where he probably does need to make better decisions about going ahead and pulling the trigger on certain throws, and trust in his ability to get it, that he is making the right decision. But at the same time, he's probably hearing throughout a game too, now make a good decision here. Don't turn the ball over, because Randy Fichtner made sure to point out during his talk with the media yesterday, we were doing a good job, as long as we're not turning the football over. He made sure to point that out. But you can't have it really both ways all the time. A quarterback's going to make bad decisions at some point. You just hope that those are few and far between, and that it's not a killer when you do turn the football over through the air.
And not only have trust in yourself, but have trust in your receiver to make a play. Obviously, there's trust in a guy like James Washington, but have trust in Juju to make a play. Have trust in Deontay Johnson to make a play, or Vance McDonald to make a play. Know that those guys, and I know that Rudolph knows that, but in game, in that moment, say, hey, my guy can make a play. My guy's going to beat their guy. And that's the mentality Rudolph has to take more often.
Yeah, and the more in-helmet perspective that he gets, and the more reps that he gets with the first team offense and all, hopefully, like you started this whole conversation off with, this should be the week where we see him potentially pull the trigger on a few more throws. And once again, we're not begging the guy to throw 15 times deep down the field, but there are going to be opportunities where he should be expected to complete the football down the field, and when he does, it's probably going to end up in a big time play. And you just cannot continue to count on the defense, even though we wish we could, and be nice if it happened, for the defense continually set you up on short fields. I mean, it's definitely fun to watch. We've gone the last couple of years wondering, man, this offense, look at how this offense keeps having to drive these 75-yard fields. No wonder Roethlisberger's thrown for 15,000 yards in a season, kind of thing, because he had to. kind of thing. But with that said, you can't, if you get one of those a game where you're in plus territory and you capitalize on it, that's not enough for you to win ball games.
Yeah, absolutely not. So hopefully that changes this week. I suspect that it will, and that's what Fichtner had to say about the explosive pass game. Anything else from Fichtner or Butler that you heard? Again, there wasn't a whole lot. Butler gets asked about Minka literally every single week, and I think I've run out of ways to frame that discussion. Anything else from those guys that stuck out to you?
How many times are you going to ask Randy if a pass or running back is an extension of the running game?
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah.
It is. All right. I thought, how much have you used the pistol snap and for what reason? I thought maybe one of Alex's questions got asked in there.
That was music to my ears, and yeah, Fichtner just said what I've talked about. It creates a downhill run game, and also he said, and I should have thought about it in this way too, that it allows you to run left or right. In shotgun, if your back sidecar is lined up to the right of you, it's kind of hard to run to the right. You're pretty much going left because he's going to be crossing the quarterback's body. You can try to run some counters, but then the run gets slowed up, and time is of the essence in the NFL. So Fichtner, talked about the highlights of pistol, and that you did use it twice against the Chargers, but it's so far and few between that it does kind of bug me because I think it makes a lot of sense with young quarterbacks that have primarily played their football lives out of the gun.
And look, the running game has not been great this year. We both agree on that. But this is week 2 where you should be able to run the football with success, more successful. And the thing that to keep going back to and when it comes to running the football in NFL games is if you're able to run the ball successful early, it's usually going to wind up with you being able to run the football more later in the games and do so successfully. Look at that game last night. And boy, what'd you think about that running back that came in late in that game for
Madison?
Oh, boy, he looked like he couldn't be brought down. That guy looked like he was playing with his life on the line there. But what had happened is they used Cook great throughout the game there, and he had success on it. And then obviously they were getting some plays downfield with Diggs and all like that. It really opened up the running game for them. Wore down that defense as the game went on. Guys like Bostic and one of the safeties back there probably got tired of trying to make some of those tackles. So run good early, and it will usually end up in you running good later, and then thus you're going to come out of the game saying, oh, look how balanced they are.
Yeah, and hopefully getting a guy like Rosie Nix will help you run some of those lead plays and attack those linebackers all the more. So, yeah, you can run on this Dolphins defense. You can pass on this Dolphins defense. Really just got to have your game plan execute, and you should find success.
How many snaps Rosie going to play in this game? 15 to 20?
Yeah, it could be inflated if this team could get a lead late in the game trying to close it out. I'll still say 10. I wonder if there'll be any sort of limitations on Rosie just from a conditioning standpoint. Not that he's playing 70 snaps, but I just wonder how they're going to approach that. But I'll go with 10 snaps on offense for Rosie.
You think that's a good should an over-under number? I'm going to ask that in the questions, in the 5 questions tonight. But do you think – I feel like 10's undershooting.
Yeah, go with 12 or 13 and maybe set it there.
All right,
or 15 if you want. Your article.
All right, but look, James Conner's excited about having him back. It sounds like. We should see some good old 14 straight runs. We should see the power, the 34 rides, the 36 ride. Those kind of things. The bread and butter kind of stuff that we've seen from the Steelers over the years in the running game. We should see that quite at least. Try to establish it a little bit early, and then work some play action off of it. Not that running the football plays a bit of a damn bit of good to me and to analytics as well too. The guys, the nerds, and I really agree with them. It doesn't matter how you run the football when it comes to play action. Either your play action's good and it works, or it doesn't. I would like to see them use a little bit more play action here to try to freeze these. They got some athletic linebackers over there on Miami. It's probably the strength of their defense here. when it comes to their linebackers there. But if you can get those linebackers and those safeties maybe taking that extra, or be flat-footed an extra second longer, or coming towards the line of scrimmage there, you're going to open up the passing game down the field on top of it. So really just against that, really, let's face it, this is a 32nd ranked team in the NFL. I mean, no matter how you dice them up. So you should be able to see the Steelers offense do a lot of things well Monday night. And running the football should be one of them, and passing the football down the field should be one of them as well, even with a backup quarterback.
Well, do you want to talk about Miami in depth now, or is there anything else you wanted to hit on from the coordinator's corner?
Yeah, I just wish they would ask us for some questions to give these coordinators ahead of time, and don't think that question about the pistol didn't come from one of these guys maybe listening to the podcast either, because I think we're the only ones that ever talked about that on top of it. The rotation change with Stephon Tuitt, I think he goes out and says, Hargrave can play it. They're not going to do any. We've heard Tomlin say how a couple other positions might have to step up. They're not going to go changing this defense around at this point in time much. They just need the guys that are going to get extra snaps now, like Tyson Alulu, potentially LT Walton, obviously Hargrave in as a nickel guy. These guys just got to step up, when it comes to that.
And Big Dan, too, because I fully expect Hargrave to play some base left-end snaps in the 3-4 defense, because Miami goes heavy a lot to get with two tight ends. They added a fullback in. We'll talk about that here in a second. So Hargrave has played some left-end before Tua got hurt. This is kind of the first year he's done it more than just literally one-off snaps. He did it about 13 times this season before Tua went down against LA. So that'll elevate McCullers into a nose tackle role and have him play more, because Hargrave's going to kick out to defensive end and kind of play that 4 high. So yeah, all hands on deck. It'll test the depth, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle the rotation, because this entire year, Dave, they've talked about, Carl Dunbar specifically, the defensive line coach, has talked about having a rotation, keeping guys fresh. That's obviously going to be a lot tougher to do right now. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the snap count, both in-game, late-game situations, and then how that affects a team over the course of the season.
But you still have to do whatever it takes to win this game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a fine line somewhere. Now, T.J. Watt talked about that, I think, yesterday as well, too. And we should see, as we kind of teased earlier there, that we should see Ola Adeni come out of this game with a career high, single game career high in snaps.
I'm not so sure, to be honest, because even in games where Chickillo wasn't available with a foot injury, Adeni was playing about 10 snaps, and I kind of expect that the same, unless Watt's injury is going to bother him enough that he's got to rotate out more than he would like to.
Well, he talked about the percentage. He personally talked about how they probably need to do a better job of making sure he gets off the field some.
Mm-hmm. They do, I agree, but so far they really haven't accomplished that, and I don't know if that's going to change this week.
All right, well then that's another one. How many total snaps will Adeni play?
I'm still assuming it'll be between 10 and 15.
Let's see if they get him. What's an average game? 60 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if he played 10% of the plays, that would be 6 snaps.
Well, I didn't say 10%. Well,
I'm using that as a basis for my own math here.
Okay.
So if he played 20% of the snaps, that would be 12. Will he play 25% of the snaps? Ooh, I don't know.
I think we'll play between 12 and 15. The other element is still, I know we have this question, I ask this question, we have this discussion every single week. Who's wearing the green dot still? Because there hasn't been that consistent 3-down guy. So I don't know if it's been an outside linebacker that's still been having it or not. If it's TJ Watt, obviously, then he's got to stay out on the field as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's been him.
I don't think it is either, but I've still been curious because you haven't had that every down player.
Right, so that'd be something to track early on as well, too, in this game. But Watt's not going to play 90% of the snaps in this game.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, the injury, I think, is going to be the biggest reason why he might not. But whenever he's been healthy and, Adeni's been the number 3, Watt's been playing about 90% of the time.
I think we're splitting hairs here a little bit. I expect Watt to play. I expect Adeni to play, and I expect him to log snaps on both sides as well, too. So I'm going to go. You said what's the over/under number you're throwing out there?
I'm going to predict Adeni plays 15 snaps.
You went up a little bit just then, didn't you? Or no?
Well, I said I said I think it's like
I said a
10
career high. It wouldn't 15 be a career high for him?
Is it? I'm not sure what his weekly snap counts.
Didn't he play in 9 and how many?
He played 9 last year,
right,
but I don't know
9.
if it's been this year.
What did he play against the Bengals? Would have been his most snaps this year, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, it don't matter. We'll figure out an over under to go there. I'll probably take the over.
Okay.
But look,
I do think they have to have a rotation, though. I mean, they have to do it, and it's again walking that line between being able to keep guys fresh, having guys available late in game, versus having your best talent on the field, and that's something that's difficult to do. But this team's got to really find that balance.
There is no better time right now for him and through the rest of the season for Adeney to show that he can potentially be a starter.
Yeah, or just prove that he can at least be a backup and a rotational guy.
Right, and the way the depth is on this, and with Bud Dupree maybe not coming back next year, it would be sure would be nice if Adeney was the one to step up here now.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else in what Butler had to say? Now, a lot of talk about Minka, as you said. So I think he did talk about that rotation. He was asked about Ola Adeney in that rotation. He's got stuff to learn, but he is a good pass rusher. He's trying to do what we asked him to do. He works hard at it. I think he will help. He will give us a break when we need a break. You just talked about those guys running 92% of the plays, and Ola will have to take that other 8% for both of them right now until we see what happens. All right. So what's 8% of 60? You're
pretty low.
All right. So maybe 15 is a good over/under number.
8% would be 5. I mean, he's going to play more than 5 snaps. But
yeah, but you got to talk about both sides though too.
Well, well, that'd be 10 snaps then.
Okay.
11 snaps.
All right.
Which is basically what he's been playing. So
Okay.
Again, maybe I think the Watt injury could increase those snaps a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll stop talking about it and just see what they do.
Yeah, people don't care about our over/unders.
All right, Dave. Let's talk Miami. And I think I referenced this briefly on Wednesday's show, but call me the cynic here, the one that's always nervous with every single one of these games. I'm a little nervous about this game. Miami's not been playing as bad as their record suggests as of the last 3 weeks.
Look, you have a very experienced quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? I mean, he's playing on somebody else's dime right now. What are you going to do? Cut me? I'll end up somewhere else. I'll end up with a 13th team or whatever. Because he knows what's going on. He's played. It's amazing he's 0-6 against the Steelers, really. I mean, you go back several years ago, that Buffalo game, he should have won that. Stevie Johnson dropped one in the end zone. He's not afraid to sling it down the field, as we saw just last year in that game against the Buccaneers there. So when you're starting just looking at the Dolphins from a quarterback's perspective, they have a quarterback there that's capable of winning ball games and making good decisions. Now, then it comes down to how do you have him surrounded? What kind of talent do you have him surrounded with? Devontae Parker obviously is still a big play guy, a guy that I'm assuming most of the passing game offense will have to try to be worked through. Haven't we seen Albert Wilson make a catch or two against the Steelers in the past?
I think in what KC had that long play on the left sideline, I remember.
Against Artie, wasn't it?
That sounds about right. I don't remember specifically, but against Artie sounds as accurate as anybody.
Now look, a lot of these guys would be probably number 3s or 4 receivers on a lot of teams, but a lot of them have experience too. Preston Williams is a guy I'm still trying to learn a little bit about, as well. But I mean, top to bottom, the receiving core is not awful.
No, Preston Williams is a good receiver. UDFA out of Colorado State, a draftable talent for sure. Some people thought he was a top 5 talent just on that alone in this class, which was certainly a pretty decent class of receivers. It was just a lot of off the field character concerns that got unlocked out of the draft. So they got 2 tall, long vertical receivers, and Devontae Parker, who's got 3 touchdowns this year to lead the team, and Preston Williams, their top receiver in receptions and yards. And just even to take one small step backwards and look at them overall, the last 3 weeks. they've been competitive in every single one of those games. Against the Chargers 3 weeks ago, they were only down by 7 at halftime. They had the lead early in that game. Against Washington, they almost won that game, went for 2 at the end of the game. It didn't work. They lose by 1. And then Buffalo, they were down by a touchdown last week until you had the onside kick that went for a touchdown by the Bills safety Micah Hyde. So they've been in every single one of those games. Fitzpatrick has brought stability. He's clearly the better quarterback right now than Josh Rosen. Works better in that system by being a more veteran guy. I'm not saying it's a great team by any means. Obviously, they are not. But they have been competitive, and they have been so close to that victory. And you know that they recognize how close they are to a win and how they just want to finally be able to turn that tide and make that one play that puts them over the edge.
All right, they're using multiple running backs kind of right now.
Mark Walton playing well.
Right, Mark Walton has really come on for them. He, of course, started originally with the Bengals there, and then he was the one that had the off the field incident or something.
Yep, a lot of arrests, I think.
With him, and he's found a home there. He's starting to get more and more carries. Kenyon Drake is a guy that there's some trade talk, I think, going on with him. He could be gone by next Tuesday there. So maybe if he dresses, which I think he will, I think you're just going to see a lot of Mark Walton in this game with a little bit of Kenyon Drake mixed in, and Ballage, who's a guy I liked Ballage coming out of college, but he seems to be more of a short yardage guy as it is right now. And aren't they kind of using a little bit more of a lead blocker there?
Yeah, last week they had a fullback whose name escapes me. I think his last name's Carter, rookie, UDFA from Auburn, played 18 snaps. But yeah, Walton's really kind of emerged as their guy. The last 2 weeks he's averaging nearly 5 yards per carry, out-carried Drake 20-16. Walton's the guy that's more explosive, can create whenever the play breaks down. A talented guy that, just like Preston Williams, had some off-the-field concerns that kind of got him, it cost him his chance in Cincinnati, but has played well in Miami and has always had the talent. So, again, another guy that's emerging and the reason why this Dolphins team has been more competitive.
Where they're really hurting is their offensive line, and it doesn't look like they're going to have Daniel Kilgore. By the way, people haven't figured out yet, we reached out to three Dolphins beat writers this week, 3 different ones, and no response from any of them. So that's why Alex and I are busy breaking this thing down ourselves. I don't know, maybe they're already looking forward to the off season and whatnot. But we reached out to 3 different ones, and we couldn't get one lined up for this week's shows. So that's why we don't have one. We'll get back to resuming to having the beat writers on next week there, hopefully in the game against the Colts. So in case you're wondering, well, where's the beat writer at? Well, we don't have one. Daniel Kilgore missed yesterday's practice for them. I think he missed the last game for them as well. So it doesn't look like he's going to be in there. That means who's starting at center for them?
They rotate so many names in. I'm trying to think of their line. They got Dieter at left guard. Let me pull up their roster here, because I'm not sure who they were next.
I wrote it up yesterday, and it's already escaped me who they.
Oh, did you?
Who they started at center? Oh, Boehm.
Evan Boehm.
Evan Boehm.
Yeah. Okay.
And look, I mean that's not ideal for them.
Mm-hmm. Is it Webb that's hurt too? Who's the left tackle that's hurt?
He is, but it looks there's conflicting there's conflicting reports. Some are saying I read something yesterday that said he might not play, but yet he shows up practicing fully, and then the coach says he's a kind of guy that's going to try to play through this. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up. He's not 100%. I'll tell you that. And they really can't afford not to have him play, to be quite honest with you. But with a shin, he's listed with a shin injury and practicing fully. So I think he's going to be there. I just don't think he's going to be 100%.
Okay, yeah, they've gone through so many offensive linemen this year, and obviously they traded Tunsil to Houston. They got multiple rookies that are playing heavy snaps. Michael Dieter at left guard. Isaiah Prince comes in as the 6th offensive lineman. It's another guy I can't quite remember right now. So it is a young group that does not have a lot of experience, obviously, in the NFL, nor experience together as a group. So I think you can attack this unit with stunts and games and twists and overloads and really just try to confuse the protection.
Yeah, I read something the other day. Remember way back when the Steelers had the constant shuffling of the offensive line? I mean, it's probably been 8 or 9 years ago where they had to start different combinations and all. The Dolphins have had to do the same so far. I forget how many different starting combinations they've had already this season. But it's a mess up front, and at both tackle positions at that. So, I mean, you got guys like Bud Dupree, you got guys like Watt, and you got interior guys like Hargrave can take care of some of these guards and centers. I really expect the Steelers front to dominate this Dolphins front, and if you shut down the run right from the get-go, don't get them in a lot of these third and long situations, which they should be able to do. That's when you can really tee off on a guy like Fitzpatrick, and that's when Fitzpatrick makes the most of his mistakes as well too. We saw that in the game against the Buccaneers last year. You get pressure on him try to get that ball out early. That's when the interceptions and stuff are going to happen there. So I am not so much concerned about their offense from the sheer perspective of that offensive line is a mess. I think this is going to be the worst offensive line they're going to play this season.
I agree. That's the one area I can't defend, despite me trying to give this rosy pro-Dolphins standpoint here. But
imagine if you had Tuitt for this one.
Oh my god, yeah, it'd be a bloodbath. But even despite that, they've had a bad offensive line all year. They've been competitive in these last 3 games. Fitzpatrick has played well the last 2 games. The last 2 games, he's completing 2/3 of his passes, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks. I mean, he's done a better job of getting the ball out quick. They do a lot of max protection, so they will keep tight ends and backs in to help out that offense line. That will give Fitzpatrick time. Obviously, limits the number of eligibles he has out in the route tree and in the pattern. But they recognize their line is bad, and they do bring in a lot of guys to try to help that out to stay in and protect.
Their first lead the Dolphins have had all season came last week, right?
No, they had a lead against LA briefly a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
They were
okay.
7-0, 10-0.
Okay. Well, they haven't led much this year.
Yeah, very limited.
At that. So get them down, man. Get them in situations where they're going to pass, and that really is going to make it a lot easier. Even more easier on this defense. If the Steelers offense can come up, put some points on the board right away here, it'll make a huge difference in this game. The Bills defense is good. And look, I mean, the Dolphins score had 14 points before they kind of let them march down the field there at the end though, right?
Who
the
you're
Bills?
Saying Buffalo?
What great defense, I didn't think, towards the end of that, and then that drive ultimately culminated in a Fitzpatrick scamper for a run. But, I don't know. They had, an 8-play, 75-yard drive with Ballage capping that off early in the second quarter. And then they had a Fitzpatrick to Parker pass there midway through the second. It's still not overly impressive on tape is what I'm getting at.
You'll get no argument from me about that. 2 other quick notes. Their run game, their main scheme is power, which they most often do to the boundary. So they try to pull that left guard, Michael Dieter, try to get numbers to their side and let Walton run behind or Drake as well. And then they are a pretty heavy screen team, especially if they're backed up. They get in some long situations. Anything 2nd and 5+, they want to go to the boundary with a running back screen. They're apt to do that. So just read your keys if you're a front 7 guy, if you're a linebacker, defensive lineman. Watch those guards pulling because they're either pulling for their power runs or a screen game type concept.
Yeah, and they are going to want to try to get that ball out of Fitzpatrick's hands early on in this game. So you're going to see runs. You're going to see some. They're going to go into I think you're going to see them go into the Shanahan playbook a little bit as well too. See if they can catch them with maybe Gesicki or somebody out of a more power look with kind of an over route or something to some of these tight ends here as well too. I think if the Dolphins are smart, they're going to, which most teams will do anyway, is they're going to go through and they're going to try to pick out things that have been done against the Steelers defense already this season that kind of match their own personnel grouping. And I think they're going to try to do a lot what the 49ers did.
You think? I mean, yeah, maybe on paper, but I don't know if they have the talent to get anywhere near that.
Sure. Whether or not you can pull that off is 2 different things. But I mean, I think you're going to see a lot more heavier looks in this.
No, I agree about that. They will play heavy. They will bring in multiple tight ends, an extra 6 offensive linemen, and a fullback. I mean, I agreed on that aspect of it. Conceptually, I'm not sure how much they're going to do the same. A couple more stats to kind of remind you that these are the winless Dolphins. They've only had 35 red zone snaps the entire season. That's next to dead last in football. Only the Jets have fewer. They're 28th in football on third down. They're 21st in the red zone when they barely get in the red zone in the first place. So obviously this team has still struggled mightily. Obviously this is a bottom of the barrel talent team that is playing for next year. But I do think they are playing better as of late, and I don't want to overlook them when the Steelers themselves are 2-14.
You know, you're going to have you get to see Devin Bush probably out in space a little bit more in this game too, chasing down some running backs or whatnot. Really got to check, as you said, key on your keys a little bit here. You know, I expect Bush is going to have a busy night Monday night.
And I think they're going to throw some jump balls to Parker and Williams and just say, let's hope our guy wins him. So play clean if you're the corners. If you're Hayden, if you're Nelson, safeties have to come over and make an impact too. But corners are going to be tested. They're going to throw some just kind of 50-50 balls and see what happens. Maybe they get a call. Maybe they get a catch. It's probably the best thing this offense can do right now.
All right, defensively, what a mess.
It is. Just trying to find who's even healthy. Some of these names, I mean, guys you haven't even really heard of before. They only have a couple sacks this year, and they're guys by like Taco Charlton, who was brought in midway through the year when Dallas cut bait, and Vince Beagle, who was been bouncing around since got drafted by Green Bay a couple years ago in the 4th round.
He was the Wisconsin kid, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of Wisconsin backers. They had Garrett Dooley, I think, the same year, and T.J. Watt, obviously, around that time as well. I do see a lot of hallmarks of a Patriots defense. Remember, Brian Flores is their head coach that I'm pretty sure is running the defense over there. He did it in New England last year. So you get some of the cone coverages. You get a lot of man stuff. You get a lot of amoeba and try to create a lot of chaos pre-snap looks. So the talent, obviously, is not there, but they have a lot of those Patriots hallmarks.
Yeah, but you're plus the bust. They are. It looks like there's been a couple of busts in here as well with some of these new guys in the secondary being mixed in. They don't have the personnel to pull off what they're trying to do.
Right, but schematically they are a lot of similarities, which you would expect.
Bobby McCain's always been a kind of a meh kind of player at safety. It doesn't look like they're going to have Rashad Jones back this week. That's not going to help them. Their corners might be the best they've had in a couple weeks here with Xavier Howard, hopefully, for them coming back, and Eric Rowe on the other side, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Another former Patriot.
Now, their linebackers are a talented bunch. I mean, Jerome Baker's a guy, and Mike Tillman talked about this the other day. A very athletic guy, a guy that can cover a lot of ground. However, he's probably not going to like to see a lot of Rosie Nix in this game.
Yeah, you can get downhill on these linebackers. That defensive line in general, that defensive line is a lot of nameless faces. McMillan, a linebacker too. You can attack these backers.
This is a they get a little bit small at times, right? At the linebacker position. I mean, McMillan's a little bit bigger guy, right?
I think so. I don't know the heights and weights exactly, but yeah. Are they both Ohio State guys, aren't they?
No, Baker.
Baker is. Yeah, where'd McMillan
sure.
go?
I think McMillan sounds familiar out of Ohio State.
Let me see.
Yeah, he is. He was a when was he? 2017 second round. So I mean, both those guys are talented guys, but they're more chase guys, right?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
So they're not going to take too kindly to having a couple of guards or a fullback up on them. And I think that's how you pound these guys early is right up the gut on them. Christian Wilkins, really liked him coming out of Clemson. Talented, and a good kid too, But boy, he let his emotions get too much of him. That last week, and I think he'll learn for that. But
he threw a punch for people that don't know. He got ejected for throwing a punch in that Buffalo game.
Taco's come on since they've acquired him on the edge, but are they moving him around much? Do they flip him?
Yeah, a little. They move a lot of guys around. They try to give you some amoeba looks in third down. They try to mug gate gaps with linebackers and bail out and do some turn protection. They move guys around like you would expect a Patriots defense would.
But, I mean, I think both the Steelers tackles should be able to handle their pass rush. They might get I think Avery Moss missed last game, and I think he's back practicing. I think they're trying to maybe get Avery Moss back on the field for some snaps this week as well, too. But I think you're going to probably see them gamble a lot on some blitzes because their pass rush hasn't been all that great at times this week, too. So I think you're going if you can catch them in some of these blitzes and all, there's going to be some big play opportunities.
Yeah, they do try to blitz. I've seen it most often whenever you go 3-by-1 with the tight end to isolate it to one side, and the Steelers don't do that a whole lot, so that should be mitigated, I think, pretty easily. But what they do, and I mentioned this earlier with that, I don't know what the exact term is. I think terminology varies, but what they want to do is they'll put both linebackers in the A-gap, and whichever way the center turns, the opposite linebacker rushes. So if you have both of them in the A-gap and the center goes left, the one to the right side, the linebacker to the right side will now blitz. So kind of put the center in a lose-lose no matter what you do, which is something the Patriots have done for years now. So they try to stress protections a bit, but I think the Steelers can handle it.
And they'll run a lot of sugar as well, too. Where they
Well, yeah, that's the same thing. Yeah, they'll mug guys in, and you don't know who's coming and who's going.
Right. So, but I mean, the Steelers' offensive line is experienced enough where they should be expected to handle all that.
And the backs are good in pass pro, so if a back has to pick up a linebacker, James Conner can do that.
All right, so tell me exactly again why you're scared about this game.
Because they've been playing better late. Isn't that fair to say? They've been they're basically their last 3 games. And
yeah, they have.
And they'll do some trickery too, whether that's a fake punt or they've tried some receiver passes this year which have not worked out but are on the table. So if they're a team that's knowing how close they are, I am expecting some sort of trickery from Miami just to say, hey, let's go for broke. Let's try to create that one play that maybe puts us over the top.
They have 7 sacks on the season. Whew.
Yeah, right. And most of those are coming from Taco.
Taco's got 7. Beagle has 2. And
how many does Taco have? You said 7.
I mean 3. 3 for three for Taco. With the Dolphins. Doesn't he have 4 on the season and 3 with I forget. But I know he's got 3 with the Dolphins at least right now. I mean, do they I mean, some of these guys, Ledbetter has a half. Equivalent has a half. John Jenkins has 1, and Beagle has 2. How much playing time? When did Beagle get his 2? I didn't come across those when
I can look.
I didn't see when he got his 2. He got 1 a week. I guess he did get. I must have missed it last week. Missed his sack when I went through the tape. He had 1 back in week 2, and he had 1 in I guess last week there.
And I will say for Pittsburgh is that 4 of their 6 games this year have been decided by 1 possession or less, 7 points or less. And Miami's playing close games. So add those things together. Miami's playing close games. Pittsburgh's been in a lot of close games. I mean, I'm expecting this game to be not a 40-0 blowout over here.
They have 1 interception on the season. The pick? Bobby McCain.
That was a McCain. When did that
happen? Week 4 was it?
Was it?
I'm trying to remember. I remember watching it the other day. Week 3.
Okay. Yeah.
1 interception, 1 fumble recovery.
And 7 sacks against the Steelers team, which has only allowed 5 sacks the entire year.
So, I mean, once again, what's got you scared? Is it more their offense, maybe big playing you here and there, that scares you the most?
Yeah, it's a little more the offense looking competent, and the Steelers' offense not looking great either. It's not like they have this potent offense that you can easily expect them to run up the scoreboard on Miami. And it's the cynic. It's the cynic in me, because that's who I am. That's how I'm wired. I worry about everything. You put a group of 11 me against Pittsburgh, and I'd give me a fighting chance in this game. But also just the fact that Miami's playing better. They're playing close competitive games, and Pittsburgh, the majority of the time in the season, I've been in close games where you're holding your breath down in the last 5 minutes of the game. Only 2 games this year where they haven't played close games are week 1 where they had a blowout loss to New England, and then the blowout win against Cincinnati in, what was that, week 4? You
know who has their forced fumble and fumble recovery?
I do not.
Some guy named Minka Fitzpatrick.
Get out. Oh, wow. That's funny.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what more to say about them top to bottom. And they're,
return game. Watch out for Jakeem Grant, one of my favorite players coming out of college, out of Texas Tech. He can make some big plays in space.
Danny Smith had talked a lot. Why don't you recap real quick what Danny Smith had to say this past week about the punter and about Barry and Boswell?
I was elated to hear from Danny Smith. First time I've heard from him all year long. Just said, Boswell's been more detailed with his work. Obviously, he's not going to go into specifics about what those details mean, but just saying that he's been a more detailed guy, and that's probably made the difference for why he's having this turnaround season. And then was impressed by Jordan Berry. Not only the job he's done the entire year, but specifically what he did against the Chargers. Kind of challenged Berry before that game. That's you versus the returner. The return guy for the Chargers, obviously being Des King, who had a 73-yard punt return against Pittsburgh last year, had a 68 or 69-yard punt return prior to the Chargers game in this season, and did a great job of holding that unit in check. So Boswell Berry playing really, really well right now.
The worst thing you can do in this game, and it stands for any game, is to make early mistakes in this where you give the Dolphins short fields to work on, and then you give up an explosive play or so, and then bam, you're down 7-0, 10-0, and then they're playing downhill a little bit at that point. You're making things a lot easier on them if they're able to stay within their bread and butter type things, which they don't have a lot of bread and butter here. So if you just don't make it easy on them, I once again, I don't have the fear that you do. I hope I'm not going back on Monday and saying, damn,
are you expecting a big win? Because it feels like you're just thinking.
I am, Alex,
okay.
and I know I shouldn't. I mean, with the way this team has played this year, and me being even hard on the offense, saying, where are the explosive plays at? You can't keep counting on your defense to provide the short fields on you, and you just can't keep. Man, I got a frog in my throat this morning. You can't keep expecting 45-yard touchdown throws as your one a game as your explosive plays. But this is a Steelers team that's coming off of a bye. This is a Steelers team that their defense is playing well right now.
Yeah, they should create big plays. They should get 3 or 4 sacks on Fitzpatrick. They should be able to create at least 2 turnovers. I mean, those things are reasonable to expect with A, how well this defense is playing, how opportunistic they've been, and B, the struggles Miami's still had.
And when you getting Rosie back this weekend, that should definitely help. I mean, even your special teams should be better this week. I mean, I know you don't have Chickillo and all, but even that. And this team, once again, you're coming off of a bye week. You got some health in you. You're at home. You got the color rush. It's Monday night. There's just so many factors that lead into this that make me think that make me be not so concerned.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Dave, I think that recaps Miami. We'll pick this game a little bit later in the show. But for now, before we get to our picks for the week for across the NFL and then for the Steelers-Dolphins game, Dave, let's talk about our friends over at MyBookie.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you ever find? Oh, by the way, I hit it, and you were a winner last night as well too. Both of us.
It got dicey. I saw that third 19 run that Madison had. I went, you got to be kidding me.
That make no mistake about it. A lot of eyes were on a lot of TV screens in some casinos here in Vegas at the 2-minute warning mark last night, because there was a lot of money that could have changed hands there in the final few minutes there, and I haven't had a bad beat in quite a while here, so I just had the makings of maybe a bad beat taking place last night. And for those that don't remember, it was what was a 16.5 spread on that one. Alex and I both were on the Redskins plus the points last night against the Vikings there, but late. You're thinking, boy, all that one touchdown going to change this thing in a hurry. There, they drove the length of the field, and they got in the third and 16?
Yeah, I think so.
And they converted a damn 3rd and 16 run. That's when you're thinking, oh, here it comes. But luckily they were able to get a stand there and all. But anyway, Alex and I both had a winner, and now I'm 9-0. On the season. I've never had a streak like that, especially on one specific night, like a Thursday or Monday night, and all right there. So I'm riding high right now. If you want to make some money with me on mybookie.ag, probably Thursday nights is the night to do it. That's right. And as a true football fan, you already know, just as sure as the seasons change, Tom Brady will keep the Patriots in the game. Every weekend, our favorite gridiron warriors put their skills to the test. So why aren't you doing the same? We're almost halfway through the NFL season, so now is the time to get off the sidelines and get in the game with MyBookie. MyBookie is the premier place to bet on all your favorite pro and college football action every weekend. They always have the most up-to-date lines and most prop bets of any sports book on the planet. So if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and bet with me with the best at MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy or girl who likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a parlay. Pick your locks for the week, put them together in one parlay bet, and when they all come through, the rewards will be huge. Tired of watching the games from the couch with nothing to gain? MyBookie wants to get your mind off everything else and back on the game. Best part is if you join right now, MyBookie will double. That's right. They will double your first deposit. That's right. If you put in $1,000, they'll give you $1,000. That's double your initial deposit you can use on all your favorite picks. But to take advantage of that offer, you use promo code TERRIBLE to activate that offer at mybookie.ag. That's promo code terrible to double your cash. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid, like I did last night with that game between the Redskins and the Minnesota Vikings. And let me pull up our lines for this week. What you got?
Well, yeah, I was going to go to our picks. I don't know.
Okay, the Detroit Lions are hosting the New York Giants. First game on the board here with the Lions laying 6.5 at home.
Give me the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I think they're going to break out of their funk. They need to. They're going to stay in this thing. So give me. They did trade away. Who did they trade away?
Quandre Diggs. Yeah, locker room not happy they lost Kerryon Johnson for probably the season. So hurting a little bit.
Yeah, with all that, I'll take the Lions at home laying the 6.5. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, boy, this is a big game for both these teams to try to stay maybe in the picture as well, too. Tampa Bay on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Titans at home laying 2.5.
Yeah, I don't feel too good about this game, but I think the Buccaneers do have enough offensive firepower with the combination of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Usually at least one of those guys is good to have a monster 100-plus yard performance every single week. So I know the Titans offense got a little bit of a boost with Tannehill under center, but I'm going to go with Tampa Bay in this one.
We've had a couple of people write in too, Alex, email us and say, hey, when you guys go through here, don't just pick maybe one or two that you're very, very, or just one that you're confident about. Try to give them about two or three that you're kind of confident about. All right. So as we go through these, say, yeah, I really like this or whatnot, so people can kind of bet around that. I really like this game. I like it. I think it sets up well for Tampa Bay on the road. I think Tampa Bay can win this one outright. Alex, as well. So I want the 2.5 points on this for the Buccaneers, and that to me that money line is mighty attractive, straight up win for the Buccaneers as well. The Los Angeles Chargers are at the Chicago Bears. This is a weird one. Bears laying 3.5 at home.
I'd be pretty confident with the Rams in this one. The Bears offense.
Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, then I'm a lot less confident in this pick. Scratch what I said. The Chargers just find ways to lose. This is one that I wouldn't be confident with either way because it just looks ugly on paper, whether you're talking the Chargers with a poor offensive line and a team that finds ways to collapse versus a Bears offense that I believe the stat is the only offense this year to not have a 300-plus yard offensive game. Give me Chicago just because they have the better defense of the two, but I'm pretty lukewarm on my confidence in this pick.
These couple of games, too, obviously both these teams are, I think, where's Tennessee in relation? They're right about the same with the Steelers, right? I mean, obviously, you'd probably be rooting, if you're a Steeler fan, for the Buccaneers to beat the Titans and the Chargers. You could pretty much put them out of their misery this week, pretty damn close. And this is a Chargers team that I thought they'd be in the thick. I thought they'd be a wild card team this year.
Right. It's crazy the lack of success with a really good quarterback in Phillip Rivers this franchise has had.
They were 1 yard away from winning that game last week.
Right. Again, they find ways to lose. They find ways to just choke at the end.
Well, you know what? They're not going to find a way to lose this week. This is another one. You're not confident about this one. I am confident on this one. Their Chargers are going to get back on their winning ways this week. They're going to win outright, beat the Bears in Chicago here. So these last two games, I'm taking the road dog to win outright in these. So give me the Chargers plus the 3.5 points. Chargers, they lost the game before the one to the Steelers, right? So
Yeah,
they're on a
yeah.
at least a 3-game losing streak. They're going to snap that this week. All right, Seattle Seahawks. After losing to the Baltimore Ravens last week at home, they go on the road and play the Falcons. Falcons getting 7 points at home.
Yeah, I'd be pretty confident in Seattle to take this one by at least 10 points. To kind of go with what you said about, Chargers not losing that many in a row. I think Seattle, they're going to play angry. They're going to play with a chip on their shoulder after that beat to Baltimore. Atlanta's just been a mess. Worst defense in football. Matt Ryan probably not going to play. Maybe he won't play. If Matt Schaub is starting, this one could be a laugher. So I think Seattle wins big in this one.
Yeah, and they traded Sanu away. And,
right.
I mean, what are you thinking if you're in that locker room right now?
Yeah, get me out of here. Get me to the end of the year.
Yeah, did you see those memes running around of showing video of, and I obviously wasn't Sanu, but him running out of the leaving the Atlanta facility on his way to New England is pretty cute. Some of those that are floating around making fun of that and all. Okay, I will take Seattle as well, laying the 7 on the road there against the Falcons. New York Jets. Man, Sam Darnold, he played so badly they removed one of his toenails. He actually did have a toenail removed. Evidently, he's trying to fight through that. They go on the road against the Jaguars. Jaguars at home laying 6.5.
Yeah, I think the Jets, they're obviously not going to play that poorly. I think they're going to make adjustments. Darnold, they're 2 weeks removed from beating the Cowboys. Jacksonville's been such a tough team to figure out this year. Obviously, they've had Minshew mania, but outside of that, they don't have Jalen Ramsey, but they haven't had Jalen Ramsey for several weeks now. Long story short, what's the line again? Jets by...
This is Jaguars by 6.5 at home.
By 6. Yeah, it's just a little too big of a line for me with 2 teams that aren't great. Give me the Jets here to cover.
Yeah, I think the difference in this game will be Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator.
Okay, I like it.
Getting after Uncle Rico Minshew. So give me the Jets plus 6.5 on the road in this one. I think Darnold has a little bit of a bounce back game in this one. Eagles at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills at home laying 2. Boy, the Eagles sure have dropped off the cliff a little bit, haven't they?
They have, yeah. I'll eat crow I didn't get a lot of picks wrong last week, but I was wrong on Dallas and Philly. I thought that Dallas was going to fold, and right now it's the Eagles that have the drama and the turmoil. I just saw Orlando Scandrick, their former cornerback, they just caught ripping, I think, Peterson and the organization this morning on one of the TV shows. So a lot of issues over there in Philadelphia. Give me Buffalo in this one. Sean McDermott's really an underrated coach. He's doing a great job over there. They got a good defense. They got an identity on offense. They got Singletary back. Sean Brown's playing well. It's a decent offensive line. I'm going to go Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way on you on this. I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles. Their offense steps up a little bit more this week, and I think that's the difference in the game. So I give me the Eagles plus 2 on the road to win outright. I like this one. I really do. Cincinnati Bengals on the road against the LA Rams. Rams laying 13.5 at home.
That is a big line, but the Bengals have been that bad. Still no A.J. Green for the Bengals this week. A lot of trades, rumors going around some of their veteran guys here before the deadline. That is a big line, but I'm still going to go with the Rams. Not going to be super confident about this one. Obviously, the Rams are going to win this one, but in terms of the spread, I'm not too sure of. But the Rams still have a good offense. Gurley's still doing just enough, and they got Jalen Ramsey out there, so I'm going to go L.A. by 17.
Ooh, boy, that Bengals line's a mess.
Whole team's a mess. Whole team's.
And Andy Dalton. Ooh, gonna be a long day for him. Give me the Rams at home, late at 13.5. Arizona Cardinals on the road against the Saints. Who's gonna start? Breeze talking about. I don't think they're still not sure. I think they're playing a couple of games here with the Cardinals here. I wouldn't be surprised they held Breeze out one more week on this. But regardless, Saints at home, laying 10.5.
Another big line. I'm still going to go, you know what? I'm going back and forth really quickly here trying to think because the Cardinals have played some close games.
They've won a few too.
The question is, they can start a running back, David Johnson, Chase Edmonds. Give me Arizona to cover in this one, but I do appreciate what the Saints have done, go on that win streak even with Teddy and losing Breeze. Kind Kamara. Well, yeah, because Kamara might not play. Jared Cook's probably not going to play. Yeah, give me Arizona here to cover.
Young quarterback, first time in the New Orleans Saints Superdome. It's going to be loud there. It's just going to be a little bit too much for him. I know the Cardinals have played a couple of good games along the way. It'll come to an end this weekend. Give me the Saints at home, late at 10.5. You and I on the opposite ends of quite a few of them this week. Raiders on the road against the Houston Texans. Texans laying 6.5.
Yeah, give me Houston. Oakland got blown out last week. Josh Jacobs dealing with the shoulder injury. Houston's done a great job protecting Watson. Hopkins had a big game. Houston's going to win.
I'm with you. Give me Houston to win this one. Lay the 6.5. I'll go with you on this one on that one as well too. Carolina Panthers at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers laying 6.
Again, credit to Kyle Allen out there in Carolina, but I love what the 49ers do. I love their identity. They get Emmanuel Sanders in the trade. That's big for them. It'll be close. It's one that may go down to the wire in terms of the spread of things, but give me San Francisco to win by a touchdown.
Yeah, this is Dave's Stone Cold lock of the century of the week. That San Francisco 49ers front's just brutal, right? I mean, they and if that offense plays within, how even I know you got Luke Kuechly on the other side over there and all diagnosing what you do on a play-by-play basis. I think the offense is going to have a good week as well too. I like San Francisco to blow them out. So give me San Francisco at home, lay the 6. Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts. The Steelers will, of course, play the Indianapolis Colts next week. Broncos on the road in Indy. Indy laying 6 at home.
I'm pretty confident Indy's going to win this one. They're a good team. With the Steelers see them in 2 weeks, that's not going to be an easy matchup. Brissett's playing well. They got T.Y. Hilton at receiver. They got other guys like Pascal stepped up last week for them. Defensively, Darius Leonard making big plays. Even that's not a well-known defense in terms of the individual players. So give me Indy to win by double digits.
I'm not so sure that Denver will win this outright, but I think they can. I think they can keep it close in this one. So give me Denver on the road plus the 6 points. I like this to be a field goal game either way. The Browns at the Patriots. I don't care what the line is. I just want the Patriots to win this one. Look, you can really put put a foot on the Browns' neck this week, if they lose again this week, or right along with the Steelers. Steelers can obviously jump ahead of them a little bit this week as well too. Patriots at home laying 13.
That is a big line again, but we're both going to be, I guess, short-term Patriots fans, hoping to beat Cleveland and Baltimore here these next 2 weeks. Cleveland's just an unpredictable team. I'm gonna stick my neck out and say that the Browns somehow cover this one.
Yeah, my gut tells me that's the way it's going to go to. Some sort of like late score or something here gets them right in the door. I think Patriots win this by 10 or so. I'm not so sure the Patriots will cover on this one as at home. So give me the Browns plus the 13. I'm with you on that one. Green Bay Packers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Packers laying 4 on the road.
Oh, who's starting a quarterback is the $1 million question for Kansas City right now. That's going to affect my answer pretty heavily. I'm going to guess Mahomes. I don't know if Mahomes is going to start or not. It feels like they want him to start, but it's definitely a risk. Either way, I'm going to go with Green Bay in this one. Aaron Rodgers had a heck of a game last week. They're going to get healthier. Defense is playing pretty well. I'm going to go Green Bay.
All right, I'm going to go with you. I'll take Green Bay on the road, lay the 4 points there. And that, of course, is the Sunday night game. So that should be an entertaining Sunday night game there. Monday night? That takes us to Monday night with the Dolphins at the Steelers. Double digit line right now. Steelers 2-touchdown favorite, minus 14.
All right, well, let me get this out of the way. The Steelers are going to win this game, but it is going to be a close game for all the reasons that I said earlier and the built-in cynicism that I have about anything the Steelers do. So I have the Steelers winning this one 23-21. Real close game. Again, Miami's offense, they're playing better. They're playing better as a team as a whole. Pittsburgh's games, most of them are close. I think the Steelers do open things up offensively. I think they do create some more big plays. They drive the football down the field more than they have in the past, but it's going to be a close one.
Is it going to be a last-second field goal or what?
No, I'm not saying that. I think
maybe a late Dolphin score to get you worried or what?
Not even that. I think it'll be close throughout the entire game. It won't be Pittsburgh needing a last-second drive. It'll just be one of those games where the Steelers are gonna have to either run out the clock late or get a stop late in this game. So, but I think it'll be a close contest.
I looked into my crystal ball. I got it out of the shop.
What did it say?
It told me that the Dolphins there's going to be something happen early in this game where the Dolphins take a 7-0 lead, and everybody and their brother's going to be griping on Twitter that, oh, Lord, here we go, a Tomlin special on tap there. Then the Steelers get it figured out. They railroad them the rest of the game in sack fest here on Fitzpatrick. I think they get a couple of turnovers. I think you even see another defensive touchdown in this game. I think you even see the Steelers hit 30 on top of it. So after being down 7-0, I like the Steelers come out and really take care of business the rest of the way. And I think after getting that early touchdown, the Dolphins only score 3 more points after that one. I have 30-10. Steelers in this one. I had them a big, nice home blowout win, something that they really could use as well too. I think Mason. Well, what's a good over under on Mason's passing yards in this game?
250.
I think that's a pretty good number, right? I mean,
you're balancing if they get the lead like your scenario, they might run out the clock and not throw the ball that much.
All right, you're going to take over or under 250.
I mean, I know I said they'll fall down the field. I guess with this being a close game, I'm going to take the over. In my perspective, you have a Chargers game part 2 for the Dolphins in this one, getting up early and then losing 30-10.
Yeah, I'll take Mason over 250 as well too. Is that a good number? Maybe we'll have to research what the over/under number is on that. I don't have time to do that right now, but I'm sure we can find a line on that somewhere. Maybe even at my bookie we'll have a futures on that one as well too. But all right, what else do we have?
I will say for my prediction that Minkah Fitzpatrick will have the game-clinching interception off Ryan Fitzpatrick to preserve the victory in this one. That's my one bold prediction. Only thing I have left for you, Dave, are some reader emails.
All right, Fitzpatrick off of Fitzpatrick, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Fitzpatrick squared here.
He could do that. He goes to Harvard. He probably knows how to square Fitzpatrick.
Who scores the touchdowns for the Steelers?
I don't know. Connor, Juju, and I guess I would only be 2 touchdowns. I'm going to put him at 23. I don't think I can get 3 touchdowns out of that unless I get a safety. So I'll say Connor and Juju. I guess I'm easy. Well, no, I'll say Vance and Connor.
Finally going to get me a Johnny Holton touchdown this week.
That sounds like a big play. Sounds like it's going to be a chunk play.
Yeah, going to be a chunk play on this one here.
All right. I like it.
Okay, to the email, Jay Babardi. Quick shout out for Alex, your boy Terry McLaurin. Why do they always want to try to give you kind of credit for guys that I've talked about?
I ain't mad about it.
As well. McLaurin was one of the first people I wrote about, I think, last year, going over his explosive plays and all like that. Right? You remember that? My post on that last year? You don't even remember. I don't know.
The people are telling it's me, so I'm just I just send you emails every Thursday night, Dave, saying they're from other people. That's pretty smart, isn't he?
Golly, can I get any credit here? And look, I think I even had on Twitter one of those routes that McLaurin ran at the Super Bowl. I mean, not Super Bowl, Senior Bowl. Just that great movement off the line in that short area space there. Now, look, in all honesty, you've been very positive on McLaurin as well too. So no, I'm just having a little bit of fun with Alex here, but I think really both of us were kind of high on Terry McLaurin.
I think you were higher on him than I was, though. So I think you do deserve the credit here.
Yeah, but right out of the chute too. I mean, it was kind of the only thing that scared me about McLaurin, Alex, was why wasn't he used more? Mm-hmm. At Ohio State right now they obviously had a lot of talented guys, a lot of talented receivers there and all like that. But man, why wasn't he? And I think he's a guy they moved around quite a bit in that offense. He was a big play machine for them as well too. You just kind of wonder why wasn't he getting more targets? You know. Because the tape was there. Hey, Jay Barbardi, go research that name on SteelersDepot.com. Find a couple of posts or two that I mentioned them in here. But yeah, I guess I'm only 20. He goes on to say, if only Alex could do some film study on classic movies. Look, as long as Alex keeps doing a great film study on the All 22, I'll deal with him not being. I'll just put a pinch on him more in the off season to watch the classic movies. Jay Barbati goes to say, I'm only 29. I've got nearly all of Dave's references. Boy, good, kudos for you. McLaren. This guy's going to be a household name.
Scary Terry. Playing great.
They call him F1 too, right?
I like both. I like Scary Terry.
I like F1 better, but this guy and the separation that he's able to get, not downfield, but I'm talking to running those hitch routes and those curl routes, man. He gets those cornerbacks turn and cuts back, and boy, when you have a nice 3-yard separation on a 12-yard route, that makes it super simple on the quarterback. But he's a fun kid to watch for sure, Jay Barbati, and I think he's going to be a household name here in a couple years. They could get him a quarterback and an offensive, get him a good offense over there in Washington. Look out. I was hoping Dave could help me out with a question about contracts. When there's a new CBA, what happens to ongoing contracts that don't comply with the new rules? They get amended or torn up? No, they don't get amended or torn up, but we are already in the Google the 30% rule. And who's the guy from who's the ESPN writer? Dan, what's his last name?
I don't.
Hold on a minute here.
I don't know who you're referencing.
Yeah, you do. You'll know.
I mean, I probably do, but I don't. No,
you'll know it when I give you the name here. Here it is, right here from Dan Graciano.
Gotcha.
He has an article from February 26th this year called NFL CBA Quirks that could have a big effect on the 2020 season. He goes in there to write about the no post June 1st designations on contracts next year. As long as if you don't have a new one, the 30% rule, he goes over that fairly well in that as well too, and the incentive structures as well too. So read that, and that'll probably catch you up on everything that you need to know. No, they don't tear up contracts or anything along those lines, but there has been kind of in place, in the final year of the potential CBA, to talk about 30% rules. So that should answer a lot about what you're looking for, Jay Barbati, when it comes to the CBA.
All right, good deal.
Jonathan Mason writes in on Mason. He says, Alex and Dave, why is it that the media is obsessed with talking to Mason about needing to push the ball down the field or to be more aggressive? All I hear on the radio when talking about Mason as well. Am I wrong thinking that he makes good decisions with the football, takes shots at the right time, and gives the team a chance to win? Just seems people are giving him a hard time when he's only started 3 games and has only gotten better. Alex, when are the Steelers going to give you media access so some good questions can be asked? Thanks as always here. Jonathan, look, the biggest thing that we want to see is pushing the ball down the field. I think it's a big misnomer that everybody wants them to throw 15 or more yards down the field, more than 15 yards down the field a lot. We want to see him push the ball down the field in the 7 to 12 yard category. And I think a lot of it, Jonathan, is that big plays, explosive plays is such a big part of the game of football. The Steelers are last in the league at the wide receiver position when it comes to wide receivers and explosive plays, and that you just can't have that. Your explosive plays. Look at one of your explosive plays. Luckily, last week or the last game against the Chargers was a 1-yard pass and 20-yard yak by James Conner. Those all count, but realistically, how often can you count on 2-yard passes turning into 22-yard gains?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So what would be, and look, we're probably just as Jonathan, Alex and I are probably just as much responsible for this narrative getting pushed and these questions being asked on it. We just want to see Mason successfully push the ball down the field a little bit more. Okay? Not the screens, not the 4-yard passes type.
It's just about understanding how you win as an offense in the NFL. And Fichtner even talked about it yesterday. It's so hard to dink and dunk your way unless you have an elite level quarterback who just did the best game plan under the sun. You have to be able to create big plays that help shorten drives and move the football and get you in field goal range, get you in the red zone like that to help just, be able to create that kind of momentum changing play. So for Rudolph, I mean, I understand, I think there's been times where it's been a little overblown about how he's got to throw the football down the field when he's making good decisions and the offense is moving. I just want to see it maybe 1 or 2 times a game where a throw in the past where he might have checked it down instead or gone off that read where he takes a chance to drive the football downfield, let his guy make a play. So I don't think it's a huge difference. Like Dave said, we're not talking about throwing it at 50 yards every single play or doing this 10 times a game. It's just those 1 or 2 times where it's 50-50, and instead of every time, Rudolph getting off that read or throwing short or deciding against it, or he's going to take that risk. It's just that calculated risk where you have the right matchup. You have, Juju, for example, where you say, let my guy have a chance to make a play. Every offense that's successful has to do that once or twice a game. And that's what Ben has done for his whole career, basically taking those calculated risks. So Rudolph, he's smart, he's selective. You just want to see him walk that line a little bit better.
Here's something else to think about too, and obviously the outcome wasn't great, but that was a great extending the play by Mason that resulted in the James Washington completion down the field that unfortunately Mason took one hell of a pop on.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need probably a play and a half a game of an extended play.
Right. Absolutely.
Busted, creating something out of nothing. Now, obviously, Roethlisberger has made a career out of that. And here's something else to consider. They have, how many did I write the other day? Explosive plays, 18 in total this offense has. One of those is a Devlin Hodges scramble, as well. And technically, I don't like to count those, but they do count. We just want to see a few more things from Mason. Look, we've promised not to be results or overreactive. Is Mason going to throw another interception at some point this season? Yes. Is he going to throw more than one? Probably. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, Jonathan, Alex, and I talking, look, this is not a look at each game and be overly reactive to games that Mason has. What we're looking here for is a series of games to give us something to critique, to get a good feeling about where he is and what he can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
If he goes out and he throws a couple of deep balls and they get picked off, we're not going to be blasting him for doing that. This one from Ross Obenstein. Hey, David, my question about an article written by a Tommy Jaggy where I think he has no clue where he's talking about saying it'll be our worst year even in cap space, stating we will start off with only $3 million. We will still have AB dead money in 2020. And if I remember hearing you correctly, AB dead money will be off the books this year. And you said we will have a good deal of freed up money. And you stated we will need to re-sign some guys like Juju and others. I only flood you on cap space because you're the best out there in both knowing it, making a fan such as me understand it. If so, please clarify me the facts, blah, blah, blah. That Tommy Jaggy doesn't have a clue what he's talking about here. And I hate to sound snobbish here. I know I don't. When you do study the salary cap as much as I have over the years and know about as much about the salary cap as I do, I get a chuckle out of some of these guys writing or talking about it that don't have a clue. And this Tommy Jaggy is definitely one of them who does not have his clue. I did. If you listen to this last show, I gave you a good outline of where kindly the Steelers sit and where they're going. Russ, when is the last time that you heard people not talking about the Steelers being up against the cap? really come about that time. It is such a fluid situation here. Alex and I went over quite a few names in that last podcast about guys that are potentially not going to be there. How instantaneously in March money is going to be freed up on this team, and it will be. A Cameron Hayward extension at the worst is going to free you up $3 million. What are you going to do? Alejandro Villanueva, Alex, what are you going to do? This is an interesting topic here with Alejandro Villanueva. He's not killing you with his base salary next year. Now his cap number is a little bit higher at 8-point-something million because of a restructure you did on him, but because of his age and really because he has really from a standpoint, he doesn't have a lot of football underneath his belt. Are you extending him?
Yeah, for the right price. Now, I know he's going to want a big payday. I think he just talked about it the other day, saying how criminally underpaid he is right now because he is probably the cheapest left tackle on the market in terms of relative to talent and role. I would be interested in the idea. I don't know particulars about how much money and what I would pay him, but yeah, I'm interested in extending him.
Yeah, I'm interested in it as well too, but I don't think you're going to get the discount.
No, you're not. That's the issue. Yeah, you're not going to get any discount.
I mean, you're going to have to, like it or not, you're going to have to pay him top 5 money.
Yeah, so maybe you don't do it knowing that you're paying him that much, and you're just not going to swing it in that year.
But on the flip side, I don't want Big Al mad.
Well,
paying him $5 million in 2020, that's robbery.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And don't look at his cap number. Look at what you're paying him. And I think I have a word or two with the Steelers. If he's having a good season, I mean, look, he got off to his normal kind of slowish start, but you don't go to bed at night right now worrying about Villanueva or Filer as your starting tackles, right?
Or any of the offensive linemen, no. They're playing well.
So that's going to be an interesting conversation. So if you do get him extended, are you going to be able to lower his cap number much? Probably not. But maybe you can get him extended and his cap number stay about the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I would try to maybe do to make him happy and keep his cap number about the same. But Russ, look, when you get into this thing, and I'm going to have an article coming up fairly soon talking about 2020 cap situation. People love to overreact because it makes it it causes people to read their stuff. When it gets to it, it causes instant reaction because people like to overreact on things that they don't understand. And it's going to be business as usual when it comes to the Steelers and the cap situation. And Alex and I already told you, don't get excited about what this team is going to do from a free agency standpoint next March because it's just going to be business as usual. It might be a little bit less business as usual, but don't get worked up over it. They'll be fine.
Yep, Omar Khan knows what to do.
Let's see here. What else do we have here? Brett Nile, quick buddy Brett, who just visited with me in Vegas not too long ago. Hey, David Niles, a couple of quick questions. With the injury to Tuitt, is it possible they keep both Buggs and Walton active on game day? Would allow them to use each one more selectively. Walton against the run and Buggs against the pass. I'm not going to say it's impossible or impossible, as I like to say. It just makes more sense to only dress 5.
Right, highly unlikely. They always dress 5, and especially with a healthy team right now, if they had a bunch of injuries like last game, maybe you could argue that better. But with a lot of guys being healthy, coming back, it's probably hard to make it work to keep all 6 defensive linemen active.
Yeah, and I think, I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I would think Walton's the one that gets the helmet this week. Although Buggs, I don't know, I read a couple of quotes. I don't think he really knows yet, but I think they got the carrot hanging over his head. I think it could go either way still at this point. I'm expecting Walton. I won't be shocked if Buggs gets the helmet here. We'll see over the next, 48 hours or whatnot, what happens there. But I think they're only going to dress 5 in total. Second question, is there any possibility that the Steelers will be able to keep Sean Davis as a backup dime back defender after the season is over? Will he really get big money deal to go somewhere else? If they could, it would eliminate safety from the draft. Why is safety needed in the draft right now?
Well, you're going to need depth.
Yeah, a 5th or 6th rounder.
I might go a little higher than that. I mean, I know draft capital's limited, but you got 2 safeties next year. You got nothing behind them. So
Why is it everybody expects the Steelers to be solid 3 players deep at every position?
well, I think it's safety because you need a dime guy, and if either of those guys go down, you need to be deep at defensive back. You need like the way they are deep at corner with Sutton being an extra guy. Like you got to have 3 safeties in today's NFL to play dime and to protect against injuries. Isn't that a fair assessment?
Sean Davis is going to hit free agency. I'm fairly sure about that, but he might be twisting in the wind a little bit. I don't know. I mean, he's had his moments, but he's also had his moments.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be back next year. I mean, the safety market has heated up some. Obviously, his value is going to be dinged by missing a good chunk, if not the rest of the season. I don't know if he wants to come back, just knowing that they traded for Fitzpatrick, which is kind of an admission that they're also going to move on from him, even not just because of the injury, just because of the contract stuff. So I don't think he's going to be back next year. He's not going to get re-signed.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. Question number 3, would you sign Skipper to the active roster and cut Lynch or leave it like it is? I think you already know where I come in on that, and it didn't happen. It doesn't matter what I want anyway. Yeah, I would have brought him in. I would have moved Lynch back to the practice squad, yada, yada. I got a funny feeling Kevin Colbert's liking this 3-quarterback thing again right now.
Yeah, sounds like it. I would have done the same. I would have claimed Skipper. I would have cut Lynch, but didn't happen. What are you going to do?
Not because we think Skipper's the next James Harrison. It's just I'd like to see a little bit more of him. And I think that's where Alex and I both are and have been on him since the preseason.
Yep.
Number 4, what are the odds that the team cuts Moncrief before Week 10? I think it's still good.
I hope so. They need to. If they don't, it's a massive mistake. I think it'll happen, but I couldn't tell you with any certainty that it will or will not.
Let's see here. Number 5, you have made a great case about the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat. Hope I got the abbreviation right. And the historic run the Patriots are on. Do you have any insight info why? On the surface, they have a good defense, but I don't see the historic talent. So are they blowing away some of the best defenses of all time? So how are they blowing away some of the best defenses of all time? Thanks so much for the podcast. Keep up the good work, Brett. Good to hear from you. For starters, that Gilmore is a hell of a damn cornerback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got a lot of talent, and easy schedule obviously helps, but they're not allowing anyone to find the end zone against them, and you're gonna have a really good number whenever you don't let teams in the end zone.
When you run the complexity of coverages that they do with the pattern matching and the cone coverages, and they just do such a great job from a defensive standpoint. Look, they just dealt Michael Bennett away for a bologna sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Because he not into the Patriot way. Okay.
Right.
And he is a good player still. The Dallas got them a steal, I think, for what they gave up in him there. They just do a great job of making a lot of players fit into what they do. And look, we said at the start of the season, Brett, we thought this Patriots defense was going to be good. I didn't think they're going to be this good. Going to get another good test against a capable offense this week. If they shut down this Browns passing game, what more do you need to see, Alex?
I've seen all I need to see. I mean, they're not going to play at quite that level, but they are the best defense in football. And it's a lot of cohesion. It's a lot of experience. And Belichick's taking the reins as DC and doing things that you would expect from Bill Belichick.
Yep. I know a lot of people hate us gushing over the Patriots there, but it is what it is. Win over Miami from Bryce. Hey, guys, it's Bryce. Good to have Steeler football on Monday night. To me, this is a must-win game. Lose to the Dolphins, and there's no chance to turn this season around. Question. First of all, look, this is a must-win game, but is the season technically over if they lose this game? No, but we're running out of must-win games, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's technically not over 2-5, but it's for all practical purposes over just because you're 2-5, and it'd be just a low moment of the season that's been already full of low moments when you lose to Miami at home on a Monday night. So it would end your season in effectively.
Questions for Jens. There's been a lot of critique of the Steelers coordinators, and rightfully so, but I'd like to ask you both, from what you have seen on tape, what would you say is the best thing that each of our coordinators do from a schematic standpoint? Wow, what is each of their biggest strengths in your opinion? Great question, Bryce. Go ahead. It's so great. I'm going to
Oh, you're so generous,
I'm
Dave.
going to make Alex go first.
Well, Butler's an easy one because I have an answer I've talked about before. The best thing that Butler does, I've been very critical of Keith Butler, obviously, but scheming up off-ball linebacker blitzes, scheming up his inside linebackers to hit the B gap to create one-on-one matchups with a back or oftentimes unblocked as well. So his ability to scheme some of his inside linebacker blitzes, I think, blitzes in general, but specifically the interior A gap, B gap blitzes is the best thing Butler does. With Fichtner, man, I'm trying to think what Fichtner. I mean, obviously you have less of an exposure being OC for 2 years, and last year he just got to rely on Ben and AB and Juju and all the talent that he had. It would take me longer to think of an answer. I mean, I will say just getting these quarterbacks ready and prepared to at least be, at a competent enough level. I mean, he's had to go through so much stuff this year with Ben and Rudolph and Devlin Hodges, and he's been a quarterback coach and been coaching quarterbacks closely for a large portion of his career. So getting his next man up ready to go, even if it hasn't always been pretty, even if you've had questionable decisions and they've had to hide some of these quarterbacks, I think just having that guy ready so he's not deer in the headlights. We've seen so many backup quarterbacks come in and they just don't look prepared. They just feel like they are not given any sort of chance to succeed. And I think Fichtner has given his guys that chance. It has not been perfect, clearly. I think the bye week gives him a really good chance to reset and have a better game plan. But I think Fichtner has done well to prepare his guys and give them a fighting chance.
Yeah, I would with the Butler thing most definitely. And look, I mean, Keith Butler will and always probably forever will be an outside linebackers coach.
Yeah, he's a good linebackers coach.
And I think how much of look, a lot of factors probably playing into Dupree having a nice season. But I don't think it's I don't think it hurts to give Butler maybe a little bit of credit for that.
Sure, I think that's fair.
Being as how he's back supposedly coaching the outside linebackers again as well too. And I'm with you on the blitz aspect as well too. Look, the jury's still out overall on both of these guys, and I would go with Alex Yao on the blitz aspect, on dialing some of these things up and getting creative of where and how to send spread. Just look at the sack numbers. I mean, those just don't happen by accident, right? I mean,
128 sacks the last 3 years. That's by far best in football for the Steelers defense.
And in fairness, there should be another 9 or 10 turnovers in this thing as well too. Mm-hmm. With all the dropped interceptions over the years as well too. As far as Randy goes, I think you bring up great points as far and look, he should be good at having quarterbacks ready, right?
Yep. Yeah. And he's coached a lot of NFL quarterbacks. Even in college, he coached like Cleo Lemon, who's had a journeyman but had an NFL career. So he's been around top talent before and gotten them ready for the NFL.
I think I'll focus more in on Randy's weaknesses. He asked for us to I think what are each other's biggest strengths. Well, he didn't ask for weaknesses but I'll tell you one. I just like to see Randy do a better job of building things off of other things.
Mm-hmm. Haley did that really, really well.
He really did, and I don't mind seeing 5 different things built off of something that could originally be an RPO, kind of things, or using the same formation. I'd like to start seeing more of that. The more of the Shanahan. Look, you got to build off of the small ball concept, and I'm fine with that. But do it. But keep a defense where it says, okay, this is probably coming here. Kind of thing. I mean, quite honestly, here, if you wanted to wrap it, where we sit right now, if you wanted to characterize the Steelers coordinators, you have an outside linebackers coach and a quarterbacks coach, both serving as coordinators. Fair?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I want to see more. And Randy really can really increase his stock from as Alex wrote during the bye week and all from the bye week on here. Let's see now that you've had you're weeks away from Ben Roethlisberger. You've had the bye week now. You're getting some bodies back. Let's see what you got up your sleeve now.
And if I were to talk about Keith Butler's weaknesses, I'd spend the next hour doing so I'll refrain from that. But they're well documented.
All right, you're punting. Dennis Diaz writes in, this will be our final question, I think.
Also, real quick, give maybe Dunbar credit too for Dupree. Remember, Dunbar works really closely with the outside linebackers too. At least he did last year. So I don't know how much he's probably having a role in that too. His second year with the team.
And let's give Terrell Austin a little bit of credit on the back end of the defense too.
Yeah, I think Mike Hilton talked about the experience and the impact that he had in a positive way the other day.
Look, just win.
Just nice.
Win, Rocky. Win. Keep winning right now. We'll save the rest of the analysis for later on in the season. Just win these next 3 damn games. Actually, win 5 of these next 6, with your only loss being to the Rams.
That's simple, huh?
It really is. It really is that simple. Win 5 of your next 6 with your lone loss against the Rams, and we'll be a lot rosier attitudes. Dennis Diaz writes in, any thoughts on no news on Skipper? Are the Steelers waiting to determine if TJ can play Monday, and if he can't play, sign Skipper to 53. If TJ okay, then Skipper to the prep. Blah blah blah. Denny, it looks like Skipper. Tuzar Skipper Watch 2019 has come to an end for right now.
Ship has sailed.
We'll have to see if they need Tuzar Skipper on the 53. Probably right now at this point, moving forward, something bad's probably happened. Is the way I look at it. Darren Boyer, I lied to you. Darren Boyer, longtime listener. I know this is way too far away to even consider, but would you welcome a Rodgers-Favre situation if Rudolph plays really well the rest of the year? On a recent podcast, you stated definitively that Ben is our quarterback next year, but what about potential cap space freed up if they ask Ben to take a pay cut or give him the Palomalo retirement treatment? Could we resign Hargrave or an elite pass rusher? Rodgers went late in the first, and the Steelers supposedly had a first-round grade on Rudolph. Additionally, Favre was interception-prone, and so is Rudolph, I'm sure. But these people are ready to toss old Ben out with the bathwater, aren't they? I'm sure Packers fans also thought sitting Favre was unfathomable once upon a time. Let's say Hargrave and Bud have phenomenal years. Boy, this guy's Darren's hypothetical city. Have phenomenal years. The defense becomes a force, and Mason leads the team to a close loss in the if. What kind of stats would Mason need to achieve in order for the Steelers to consider moving on from Big Ben? Thanks, fellas. Darren, we're not mocking you. We're mocking you.
I don't know what this we talk is. I've been silent over here. But I agree. No, I mean, you can give any scenario you'd like to try to replace Ben. Sure, there are some hypothetical where Rudolph, wills his team to the Super Bowl and his MVP, where you could say, yeah, they're going to make a change. But Ben's going to be your starter week 1, and that's all that really needs to be said.
Darren, I'm just having fun with you, buddy. But look, you're not the only one. A lot of people have a lot of people feel the Ben Roethlisberger window's coming to an end. Yeah, we get it. But, I mean, he's under contract through 2021. If you're going to do anything whatsoever with Ben, you better damn know what you have in Mason Rudolph between now and the end of the season. You better be confident that he's your guy, for one. Number 2, you're not going to get Ben to take a pay cut.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right, Alex?
No, he's not taking a pay cut.
So the only other avenue that you have is to either cut Ben or trade Ben. All right? Both of those things would have to be done by the time you pay him his roster bonus by the 5th day of the new league year. Are you going to be comfortable enough and know enough and be happy enough with what you may have in Rudolph by the middle of March to know that you can move on from Roethlisberger? I don't think you are. I don't think you are. Plus, are we even going to know enough about Ben's elbow by then? Are other teams going to know enough about Ben's elbow by then to make it?
Ben's not getting cut. It's just, I'm going to put an end to that conversation.
So that's Darren. That's we understand. We get why we're getting questions as such, but man, just don't see it. All right, Alex. I think I've rambled on enough. Don't you?
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
What, you trying to say I rambled too much?
No, I never, never, ever.
All right. With that, please send us more of your emails. Hopefully they're happy emails for us to read. I guess we're going to do this again Tuesday, right?
Yeah, we're not going to do it Monday with the Monday night game.
All right, so until Tuesday, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Hey, retweet my stuff. It helps. Retweet the articles to SteelersDepot.com. You don't have to retweet all my other crazy things that run around in my head, but retweet. Let me see an increase of our retweets on the Twitter machine there. It certainly does help us out when you retweet stuff to your followers out there, especially articles to our that go to our site there. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. All of you already follow Alex Kozora as well on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. If you do not, follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, and plenty of you have, we appreciate it. Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you want an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, a lot of people, I think we got 2 more signups on that this week. Alex as well, too. Go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the ad-free button, upright navigational bar as well. And they're going to blow them out, Alex. They're going to blow them out.
So. I'm rooting
All right. Until Tuesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.